All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's press conference. Well, good afternoon. We will use the raise hand feature to ask questions, and as those come in, I will call on you with questions for tight end Sam Roush. Troy, you're up first.
Well, Sam, we have to react to and get your reaction to the big headline so far of the week with the switch being made to Elijah Brown at QB1. Your reaction to it and what you've noticed from Elijah in practice and in his playing time so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he got in last game and played well, and quarterback switch is never something that you want to go through as a program because it means that things aren't working out necessarily. But I've got full confidence in all of our quarterbacks. They're going to get the job done, and we're going to do our best to protect them. And yeah, I mean, we're going to keep rolling.
Thank you, Troy. Steve?
Yeah, Sam. Oh, sorry about that, Sam. Kind of just following up on that. I don't want you to have to say who's better or worse than, with Ben or Elijah. But is there anything different about Elijah running the offense? Again, not necessarily better or worse, just different with him as opposed to with Ben.
Um, I mean, I think like each quarterback, I guess, has their nuances, but they've both done extremely well in practice, and Elijah came in and played well in the game, and that brings a lot of confidence to the team and the guys that are supporting him. So, I wouldn't say there's any huge differences. They're both commanding of the huddle, and they're both doing a great job. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, I just, excuse me, what adjectives would you use to describe Elijah as a QB?
Um, I guess I'd say decisive, which is something that you're looking for in a quarterback. He's got a real pretty spiral. Good ball placement. He's got really good ball placement. That's something that we've all noticed.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
John?
Sam, it's impossible not to notice your number of catches are ratcheting up. You had another long one last week. How does it feel to have the ball come more repetitively, have opportunities to catch it and go with it?
Yeah, it's good. I wish I made a little more happen after the catch last week, but yeah, I'm glad I'm getting some touches. I think that's gonna help our offense out. Obviously, if we're winning games, I could care less if I have 10 catches or no catches. But whatever it's gonna take to push us over the hump and get some more wins under our belt.
Thank you, John. Ben?
Hey Sam, I believe your dad played at Duke, if I'm not mistaken. So for you, any extra umph in facing the Tar Heels this week, growing up as a Duke fan?
Yeah, I was a huge Duke fan, football and basketball. Hated the Tar Heels. I grew up in Chapel Hill too, so all my friends were Carolina fans. So it'll be good insult to injury if we can beat them up pretty good this weekend. I'll make sure to text all of them.
Steve?
Yes, and coach yesterday said, and understandably for him, it's not a match. He doesn't look at it as a matchup between Frank Reich and Bill Belichick. But I'm sure you're a student of football history. You know what Bill Belichick accomplished in the NFL. Is there a little bit of juice just in the football historian in you to go against a team coached by a guy who won 6 Super Bowls?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I mean, he's obviously legendary coach, one of the greatest to ever do it. I never would have thought that I'd be playing him in college. But that's pretty fun. It's going to add a little extra juice to the game, and obviously super excited for that opportunity to play against him.
How much do you resemble Rob Gronkowski?
A little bit. I'm built a little bit
On or
different.
off the field?
Probably not off the field. I think he's a little water than I am off the
Yeah.
field. But
On the field?
on the field, maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit. I
Yeah.
like. I mean, he's obviously he's maybe the best tight end of all time, and he's got. If he had a longer career, he would be unanimously, I think, the best tight end of all time. But no, he's a legend, and obviously one of the dudes that I look up to.
Very good.
Thank you, Steve. On to John.
Sam, all these defenses you face have different personalities, different schemes. What's distinctive to you about the North Carolina defense that you're going up against?
Yeah, they're not. It's not super unique. Like Florida, like when we played Florida State, it was like a super unique defense we'd never played before. But obviously they do a really good job. They're good up front. You know, their D tackles look really good. Their edge rusher number 9 is he's a stud, super athletic, and obviously we're gonna have to find ways to beat them up front. But yeah, they go in between, you know, odd front and even front, and typically, and they're in that over when they're an even, but then they can pretty quickly walk a linebacker down and shift to a tight front with 2 edges. So that's something we're gonna have to be looking out for. The last couple of weeks, it's been a little bit more basic. It's like, yeah, the three's always at the boundary. They're gonna be in 4 down, but they've got the ability to move around and change fronts on us, and they do a good job with line games as well up front. So that's something we're gonna have to be prepared for.
Ben?
Yeah, I was kind of curious to know kind of how the position coach situation's working out. So I know Corey Edsall's an assistant working with tight ends. I know Nate Byam's still working with tight ends. Just I'm curious, how much time do you guys spend with Byam? How much do you guys spend with Edsall? Just talk about how that dynamic is working now that Byam's moved to also the OC position.
Yeah, I mean, all of our meeting time, Coach Byam's in there. So we're with Byam 100% of the time, except when we're in special teams, obviously. But Coach Edsel's there too, coaching us up, and he does a lot of the cut ups that me and some other guys watch in our free time, and he does a great job. And obviously now GAs are allowed to coach on the field as well, um, GAs and QCs. So that's been a big help, just getting an extra set of eyes on the field and making sure we're dialed before we go in on plays.
Any other questions for Sam? All right, we will be right back with Brandon Nicholson. All right, thank you so much. We are back with Brandon Nicholson. We will take questions the same way we did for Sam Roush using the raise hand function on Zoom, and I will call on you as those come in. Ben, you're up first.
Hey Brandon, just talk about what allowed you to get those 2 picks you got on Saturday. What did you kind of see on those plays, and just talk about being able to get you now lead the team in interceptions this year after 1 game. So
Yeah, I'll start with the first one. If you see the play, it was really just, I mean, we always talk about on defense doing our 111th, and it starts with, it was a scheme pop pass, and the safety, Charlie Eckhart covered that up, pressure from Hunter Barth on the edge, and then, I mean, I was just in the right position at the right time. Quarterback made a throw to me, and I was there to make a play on it. On the second one, I think we were in the 3 deep situation. I was just able to read the quarterback and just make a good play on that. So I think it's all as a defense, just being, doing your job, and for me, just when the opportunity comes, making that play.
Troy?
Yeah, Brandon, you had the 2 picks. Essay forced the fumble and recovered it at the Stanford 3-yard line as well. All of those turnovers and takeaways were forced when, quite honestly, the game was still was well within hand in favor of Pitt. What does it say that you guys were able to force those 3 takeaways despite the scoreboard not being in your favor deep into the second half?
Oh yeah, I mean, as a defense, I mean, we're just playing to play. We talked about that a lot within our program. I mean, we're not playing for the scoreboard necessarily. I mean, every play we are, going out there and trying to do our best to execute the play and execute our responsibilities. And so, it doesn't really matter the score for us. We just have to go out there and just do the best we can and really shut down the defense. That's our goal every time we step on the field. And so I think it just shows it's a testament to our defense, getting those turnovers that late in the game, that we're going to play into the end of the game every time.
John?
Brandon, you got a guy in the cornerback room who's exceptional, obviously, and Colin Wright didn't play. He's multiple years ahead of you, obviously, in terms of experience. What have you learned from him coming up? Obviously, he had the pick six early this season, but seems like he would be somebody who would have been influential to you. And if so, in what ways has he been influential to you?
Yeah, and I spoke about this recently. I'm coming into the college football scene as a freshman and now a sophomore, and just he's been somebody who I can look at and study his routine, see how he approaches his day to day, being a college football player. And so just that aspect of it, just having that visual is really helpful for me. And obviously, like you said, he wasn't able to play on the sidelines, but I mean, he's always there in your ear, giving you coaching points, being able to be helpful to me and seeing what he sees and communicating that to me. And so just having somebody like that who's, as I said, he's really just, I mean, he approaches it like a pro. Just having that visual is really helpful for me in the whole room, to be honest.
Steve?
Hey, Brandon, what do you say distinguishes Gio Lopez as a QB, and more generally, what distinguishes North Carolina's offense?
Obviously, Lopez is a great player. That offense has really started to pick up recently, and so as obviously that game against Syracuse they looked really good, and so I think for him it's just being able to find his targets, his matchup early, just executing. They've done a good job, especially that last game, of really just finding what they want to exploit for the defense, and being able to make those plays. And so for us defensively, I think we just have to be sound in all elements. And we talked about just dominating, just being dominant as a defense. And so I think if we just execute, like I said, our 111th, we'll come out there, we'll be prepared.
Troy?
Yeah, Brandon, last year you started the final 5 games of the season as a true freshman. What did that experience mean to you in real time, and how did it kind of set the table for you and prepare you for your second year in the program?
Yeah, experience is the best teacher in my opinion. So, being able to sit and really get those reps in those games last year, I think it really set me up for great success this year coming in back as a sophomore. And so, just having those reps, understanding the process and what it takes for me to be successful in college football at this level, I think that set me up well coming into my second year here, and I think I've really used that experience to propel me here so far.
Ben Parker?
Sorry, phone was going off there. I was kind of curious just to kind of get your thoughts on Coach April and and Coach Thompson, what they've been most kind of emphasizing with your unit right now.
Yeah, like I spoke on, doing your 111th, everybody just really just executing your job on the field. And I think it's kind of funny. We talked about in the defensive room, trying to force some turnovers, so, try to get the ball back to the offense, because at the end of the day, that is our job, trying to get the ball back to the offense. And we spoke about, like the turnovers are going to come in bunches. And, you saw against Pitt, they did. We were able to get 4. And so I think just continuing that trend, focusing on getting the ball out, trying to make an impact, and then but ultimately it just comes down to execution and doing our job. It's all about, as we say in our team, it's all about us. We're not necessarily worried about the other team or what they do, but just focusing on doing our responsibilities.
John Platts?
Brandon, I'm struck. Obviously, there have been some name corners that have come before you. Richard Sherman comes to mind, Paulson Adebo. Richard Sherman, one thing I didn't really know about him until he got well into his pro career is how much and how well he studies film. I'm not asking you to give away any secrets that you have personally, but can you share with us, with people who watch this later, kind of what your approach is to looking at film? Is it just sheer volume or time doing it, or looking for certain things? Give us a window as what it's like for a corner, because that's such an important position, particularly with a quarterback throwing the football. What do you get? What's your film study routine like?
First off, it starts with the coaches. Our coaches prepare us so well for the game. They give us the game plan. They make sure everything's clear and obvious to us, so when we get on the field, we're confident we can play fast. So it starts with them, giving us the primary tendencies, concepts, and all those types of things. And then, like I said, our scouting report is so expansive. There's more information really that you might need. But for me personally, it's just taking those tips, making sure you know it, and then trying to see if I can find anything extra within the tips or within receivers that I might be able to pick up on and, use that to my advantage, whether it be receivers releases, how they come off the ball or how they run routes a certain type of way. The quarterback, if he likes to look off receivers or if he tries to stare down the target, And so, and then obviously applying all of our calls and like, seeing how they might match up to their concepts. And so it's all little things like that where it just comes down to, just taking the extra time to really get to know your opponent, get to know who you're going up against, and trying to find anything small that you can use to your advantage and make plays.
Ben Parker?
Yeah, I was curious to kind of get your thoughts on, from a defensive standpoint, Elijah Brown and what makes him a good quarterback, and yeah, just kind of what are the strengths you've seen from him having to go up against him in practice?
Being here these last 2 years playing against EB, you always know, I mean, he's gonna put the ball right on the money. You gotta be in your spot. You gotta, as a defense, we talk about spacing a lot. You gotta have great spacing. He's gonna put the ball right where it needs to be a lot of the times. And for us, I know like EB's gonna make the right reads too. Like he has great reads, gets the ball out quick, doesn't force too many things, but he always knows, where to put the ball in the right situation. So it's always a challenge going up against EB or any of the quarterbacks we have here in practice. So defense has always had to be on point for them.
Any other questions for Brandon? Thank you so much for attending today's press conference. We hope to see some of you in